Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Welcome to Season 1, Episode 5 of The Bolder Woman on Wisp Sports. I'm Alex Rotas, and at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage.
Give it all you got, no hesitating. You've been waiting all your life. This is your moment.
Hello, and welcome to The Bolder Woman.
Even in my 20s, I was so good. I worked hard. I trained hard. I trained physically. So, I would go into a world championship and I knew I was in better physical shape than any other woman there. And that sort of gives you a psychological advantage. And also, I didn't do it all the time. And that's what concerns me now with young shooters, and is that they do it all the time. I would not have lasted in the sport if I shot it 12 months a year.
My guest today is the Canadian trap shooter, Dr. Susan Natrass. Sue is absolutely unparalleled, both in terms of her successes in world trap shooting events and also her contribution to the way the sport's run and governed. At 68, she is now in her 5th decade of competing at elite world level. This is something she's still doing. And she's been described as the most decorated and longest-running competitor in Canadian shooting history. Sue is a 7 times world champion. She's competed in 6 Olympic Games. She's been 14 times either captain or a member of the American Trap Shooting Association All-American team. She's an International Shooting Sport Federation coach, and she has a PhD in sports sciences. Sue was the first woman to participate in a shooting event at the Olympics in 1972, as shooting was open to both men and women together till 1992. She's been a campaigner as well as a participant. Her accolades and major sporting distinctions take up pages on any bio of her life, and these are just the major ones. She's been Canadian Athlete of the Year. She's an Officer of the Order of Canada. She was the flag bearer for Canada at the 2007 Pan American Games and a gold medal winner, and the 2014 Commonwealth Games. Alongside all of this, she owns and runs the Puget Sound Osteoporosis Center, where she studies the effects of aging in bones of active sportswomen over 40. She also takes part in clinical trials and provides pro bono screenings to her community. Sue lives on Vashon Island near Seattle, from where she joins me now. Sue, hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Nice to be here.
Well, I'd like to start with just talking a bit about what trap shooting is. First of all, why is it called trap shooting? Where does the trap come from?
Well, that's a good story. I discovered that in my master's thesis. When I did the history of international trap shooting. And it goes back to the British times, the Old England. And what would happen was with live pigeons, and they would be put in a box or a trap. And then the shooter would be ready and he would call pull. And someone would pull a string and the box would come back and the bird would go up in the air.
So it's changed a bit now. You're not using live birds. How does it work now? Can you just tell me a bit about it?
Well, in international trap shooting, we have 15 machines that are in front of you underground. It's called a bunker, or at least we in North America refer to it as a bunker. And there's 15 machines. And then 16 meters back, we have... in running parallel to the machines, we have 5 positions. And when I'm on position 1, the target comes out of machines 1, 2, and 3. When I'm on position 2, it comes out of machines 4, 5, and 6. And then so on down the line. So when I'm in post 5, it comes out of machines 13, 14, and 15. So let's say I'm on post 1. I bring the gun up to my shoulder, get ready, and I call pull or ah or whatever. and that the electronics releases one of the three machines. Now, each machine is set for a different target. So machine 1 throws everything to the right, and it can go from 1.5 meter, 45-degree angle to 3 meters high and only 25 degrees. So there's a the ISSF has a book of settings. I believe there are 9 of them, and then every machine is set according to, let's say, setting 1, and it says what all 5 machines, how they need to be set. So basically, when I'm on each post, you get a right, a center, or a left. That's the possibilities.
So do you know which way? So there's an unexpected element.
Oh, it's completely, because when I put the gun up, I have no idea when I call if it's going to go right, left, or center. You know, in the course of a round of 25, you're going to get 2 right, 2 left, and 1 center off of each post, but you don't know when.
So I'm thinking that this is a skill that depends very much on quick reactions.
It really is. It's usually we figure that you shoot a target from when you call, you shoot a target at about 0.5 to 0.7 seconds. If you shoot at 0.8 or 9, you're a little too slow.
I hate to ask you this question, but we're about of the same vintage. It's said that our reactions get slower as we get older. Clearly, that's not happening for you.
No, it doesn't seem to be. At times, I'm actually too fast. I don't take the time. The key too is when you put the gun up and you're ready, you need to sort of see it or pick up the target, identify the target, and then move. And sometimes I move before I really see it. So my reaction time is great. I just need to maybe calm down sometimes.
I love it. And what about the trap and the double trap?
Well, okay, trap is what we've had. Initially, it was with the live pigeons in the 1896 Olympics, and then it went to clay targets very soon. So we've had trap in the Olympics and World Championships for over 100 years. Double trap was a new sport that was established. The first time it was in the Olympics was 1996, and it was established officially. Well, I shot the very first double trap, and that was like 1989 in Italy. And then eventually it became the only event that women were allowed to shoot in 1993. And that's when 2 targets come out. Now, those are set. So you had 3 settings. You had A, B, and C. An A setting, the targets would come out of machines 7 and 8, and 7 would be set for 5 degrees to the left and 3 meters high, and 8 would be set for 0 and 3.5. I think that's it. And then setting B was 8 and 9, and then again 8 would be straight and 9 would be 5 degrees off. And then 7 and C was 7 and 9. So they both were 5 degrees off. And so that's how it was set. So doubles was the only event for women up until 96. Well, actually, until I started battling with the ISSF to get women's trap and skeet back into get a separate event in the Olympics in 1992 on. So that happened in 1997. So then women were able to once again shoot trap and skeet in the Olympics starting in 2000.
I'm mystified as to why it was thought. What was the thinking behind the fact that only women would compete in the double trap?
Oh, no. It became the only sport for women. Men competed in double trap too. And so we had men only in trap and skeet starting in 1993, and women could only shoot double trap. And I remember going to a World Cup in China, and Sean Zhang, who was the Olympic gold medalist in against all the men in 1992, said to me, "Oh, please do something. I hate double trap. I want to shoot skeet." And I got that a lot wherever I traveled. So I really pushed to try to get women trap and skeet back into the Olympics for 2000.
I bet you did. I still don't understand why they thought that women should only compete in the double, but
Politics.
was there? Oh, okay. Well, okay. Moving swiftly on then. And which do you prefer?
Oh, I prefer trap. I mean, initially, I won 2 World Cups, and I had the world record for a while in double trap, but I'm not that good at it. I think I love trap. You know, that's my passion.
So you started really young, didn't you? And I believe that your dad was also a champion trap shooter. So what was it that made you love the sport from really young?
Well, initially, Alex, I didn't love the sport. I grew up with the sport. My father took up trap shooting, American trap, when I was 5. And he did that and became very good. He won Canadian championships. He won North American championships. And then he discovered the international trap. And so his first world championships was 1958. And I believe that was in Moscow. And that was quite the experience for him. And then he tried out, but didn't make the 60 Olympics. And then the 62 world championships were in Egypt, and he shot those. And again, an amazing experience for him. And then he made the Canadian Olympic team in 1964. And he ended up coming 9th, given that we didn't even have an Olympic range, Olympic bunker in Canada, was very good. I mean, and at that time, my goal was to make the national volleyball team. But, I did trap shooting. And with my father and his training, I mean, you had no choice. If you're going to shoot, you had to train. And so I would begrudgingly go out to the gun club. I remember in 1965, I was 14 or 15, maybe it was 1966, doesn't matter. And we were at a family outing. We went down to California to a shoot. And I was in a shoot off with this California champion. And what I did is every shot, I'd say, this is a good sport. And then I'd have a reason why it's a good sport. And then I'd go pull, bang. This is a really dumb sport. And I'd have to come up with a reason. I'd go pull, bang. And I ended up shooting 25 out of 25 and beating this woman and thinking, well, yeah, maybe it's not such a bad sport.
Maybe it is a good sport.
Yeah, but I didn't start to love it till I was in my 20s.
Were you competing then in the open event? Were there junior events?
No, what it was in American trap, I was competing in the women's event. I also competed as a junior, but you competed in women or junior or open. In 1969, in American trap, I shot a 99 in the Golden West Grand Handicap. I shot a 99 out of 100, tied with 5 men, and beat them all in a shoot-off and won the whole event. There was 1,280 shooters, and I won it. And that's men and women. So that's American trap, which is you can shoot all sorts of, you can shoot open, but also declare as a woman or a junior, whatever. In international, I didn't start shooting international until 1969 when I was 18. And there I shot as a woman. And we had women's world championships. We started having women's world championships in international trap and skeet in 1962. So I shot as a woman. It was only in the Olympics. And I have to make one little correction. I was the first woman to shoot the Olympics in trap shooting in 1976. Nuria Ortiz was the first woman to shoot Olympic skeet in 1968 when it was in Mexico. And I was the first woman in trap in 1976. And that was open. So my Olympics, 76, 88, 92 were all open events. And then 96, they had closed, women only in double trap. And then 2000, we had women only in double trap and in trap.
I just want to go back to that experience of being the only woman, were you, when you were shooting with the 99 men that you mentioned?
Oh, no, no, no. When I shot the 99, no. There's a bunch of women. That's the fun thing. That was the fun thing about American Trap or ATA Trap is there's lots of women. And, of course, I was an 18-year-old and my mom and my younger brother and I had driven down from Alberta, from Edmonton. And, it's a 3-day drive down to Reno, Nevada. And so I started the first couple of days, I kept coming second or third or fourth in the women's event. And I got this, oh, that's all right, dear. You're just a young Canadian. Don't expect to do any better. Well, I'm a very competitive young Canadian, and I didn't like being the condescending attitude. So I started winning the women's events, the next couple of days. And then the Saturday of the competition, I shot a 98 in the handicap. And a guy I know from Spokane or Yakima shot a 99. And so then the next day, I was very determined and I shot the 99 and tied with these 5 men in the handicap. So that's the 1,280 were men and women, juniors, whatever.
I see. Oh, I'm loving it, though. Are there any advantages or reasons why men and women can't compete together, or reasons why they should compete separately?
Well, see, this is a really good question because there is no reason. There is a reason. There's no reason that women and men can't shoot together, in one sense, but there is on many other many ways. Because one, men have strong upper bodies, strong, big, they're built differently than women. So generally, men are stronger in holding a gun. So for a woman to be good, she has to develop her upper body strength. Because, my shotgun weighs 9.5 pounds. And if I'm lifting it 200 or 300 times in a day to compete, well, I better be fairly strong. Now, in international trap, why I fought so hard to get separate events was that before, all funding is, it seems in practically every country, is based on the Olympics. So when I competed in the open event in 76, 88, 92, the funding was based on how I was in the world against the men. So when we had a separate event, so women weren't getting the funding, they weren't getting the coaching, all that kind of stuff. So that when in 2000, there was a separate event, all of a sudden, countries are now hiring coaches. They're giving opportunities to women to compete. They're paying for women to go to competitions. And what was so exciting is women now were able to make international trap shooting or international skeet shooting a profession. They're getting paid to compete. And it's very exciting, so that the opportunities, once it became an Olympic event, were astounding. They got funding, they got jobs, they got opportunities that they never had before when it was an open event.
Gosh, so that was an achievement on your part then, really. That was something worth campaigning for that you did.
Oh, it really was. In one sense, it was sort of past my prime, but I did it for my nieces, for young women, so that they could have this opportunity. Because, the trap shooting was my passion. It still is my passion. But I wanted other people to have the opportunities and to become a separate event. It just opened up many possibilities for young women.
Yes. And do you think that it also made it more attractive for women to start in an event where they knew they could compete separately in a women only?
Yes. And what's been interesting in American trap is about, 4 or 5 years ago, I'm not good on that, the ATA decided to have 2 categories, Lady 1 and Lady 2. And Lady 2, I think, starts at 50 or 55. And it's been fantastic to see all my friends coming back shooting. And the thing is, they're really good. And at times, sometimes to win the Lady 2, you shoot better than you do, have to shoot a better score than you would to shoot Lady 1. But again, it gave these women who had sort of decided to retire the opportunity to compete again. And they're just going full force. It's exciting.
That's wonderful. I love that with master sports generally. Is Lady 1 and Lady 2, do these events take place at the same meet, or would they be separate?
Oh, yeah. No. It's just a classification. So 2 weeks ago, I competed in something called the Spring Grand. And that's an ATA competition. And so let's say you take the championship handicap on the last day. Well, we had probably 500 to 700 competitors. So everyone goes in there trying to win the championship, shoot the best score. And then after, then they divide it up by categories. But everyone shoots at the same time, men and women, juniors, we all shoot together on squads. And then after is when they divide it up according to categories.
I see. That's really nice, because there's a certain amount of segregation in other sports, but I think it's so nice when you keep ages together, including juniors and, as you say, Lady 2, which is over 50s. It's really nice.
Or 55, 50 or 55, I can't remember.
It's a very arbitrary cutoff point, isn't it? Yeah. I'm thinking, I'm really just trying to get my head around how you've managed to stay at this elite level over all these decades. But how have you maintained that consistency? Are there any secrets?
Well, I think one of the reasons, even in my 20s, I was so good was, I worked hard. I trained hard. I trained physically. So, I would go into a world championship and I knew I was in better physical shape than any other woman there. And that sort of gives you a psychological advantage. And also, I didn't do it all the time. And that's what concerns me now with young shooters, and is that they do it all the time. I would not have lasted in the sport if I shot it 12 months a year. I would shoot, I'd do my university and start shooting maybe March or April, start competing. And then I would finish, with the world championships, and they usually were in September. And then I had those months between, October to March, where I skied, I played volleyball, I did all sorts of other sports. And so then whenever I came back in the spring, I wanted to do this and I was excited again. I think nowadays I'm just astounded with the pressure that is being put on young shooters and young athletes in all sports, that they have to do it 12 months of the year. And they're not getting any breaks. And psychologically, that destroys someone. They need breaks. And my colleague, Dr. Barbara Drinkwater, and I have given talks about how even in a week, we were dealing with all these soccer players that they were not we worked out 7 days a week. They competed for their school and then they competed for their club, and they weren't getting any breaks. Well, physiologically, that's not healthy. Psychologically, that's not healthy. So I think I've always taken breaks, and I still continue to take breaks so that every time I go out, it's great fun, except when I shoot poorly. But I mean, it's fun to be there. And I think, I'm in good shape physically and reasonably mentally. But I think it's giving yourself breaks so that you can enjoy your life. I remember when I was an athletic director telling the coaches that they had to give their athletes a day off because they were students and they had to have a life. And it was just, people aren't realizing that, or they're getting so panicky, like, I've got to be the best, so I've got to do it every day. But exercise physiology, sports psychology, all show that that's not the way to do it.
Absolutely. You were, in fact, cross training, I guess, in those days when you'd go off and do other sports, go skiing and do the other things that you enjoyed. It was a form of cross training. I don't know if that term existed in those days, but you were cross training.
Yeah.
Tell me more then about your osteoporosis center, because that really, I mean, talk about having a full life. You've got a very, very full sporting life, but you've got this medical life. How do the two dovetail together for you?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I guess what it was is that I've always felt that, I've always believed I've been given a lot of gifts. I've been given being able to compete internationally, but I've also been given a mind, and I felt it's my responsibility to develop it. And when I was in my 20s, wanted to go to medical school, but there are many reasons why I ended up not going. And so this opportunity came in the mid 1990s to work with Dr. Barbara Drinkwater in her osteoporosis unit at Pacific Medical Centers. And so I came out to Seattle, and I loved it. It sort of combined my love of medicine and that with my phys ed degree, my sports sciences degree, and my enjoyment of people. And it sort of combined everything together so that, I feel we're really fortunate because when someone comes in for a bone density, it's sort of like teaching. I do their bone density and then I go over the results and then I give them all the different things that they should talk to their doctor about, whether, what are the different medications, what they should be doing physically, to what exercises or what kind of medications or calcium, vitamin D, that kind of stuff they can do. So I basically feel like I'm teaching, which has always been what I enjoyed doing. So that's and then with that and doing the clinical trials are really important because we're finding new medications to help women and men deal with osteoporosis and try to improve their lot so they don't fracture. And also with Barbara, which was great, is that she believes so strongly in prevention. So we would do bone densities on people before it was approved, like in the United States. And I think in Canada and internationally, they don't recommend bone densities until you're 65. Well, Barb always felt that was far too late. The damage was done. So we would start doing bone densities with people in their late 40s, their early 50s, and give them direction on how they could prevent as much as they could getting osteoporosis.
So rewarding.
It is. It's really, really rewarding. And nowadays in medicine, doctors just don't have the time to spend, they're so busy and they've got so many restrictions on them, but they're only allowed 10 or 20 minutes per patient. So if I can educate them on educate the patients on what their possibilities are, then when they go speak with their provider, then they can narrow the time to talk to them.
Yes, and make it more effective. It sounds a very holistic approach that you're following, and a very holistic life, actually, that you're leading. I just want to touch on the fact that you said you love teaching, because you are also a registered instructor in your sport.
Yes.
Just what level do you teach? Do you teach a lot?
Well, I am an ISSF licensed A coach, which is the highest license you can get as a international coach. And I coach all levels. I teach people how to start shooting, and I work with international athletes who are competing at world championships. And I give shooting clinics next week I'll be giving an ATA shooting clinic, and in a month I'll be giving an international shooting clinic. So it's just, I guess my passion there is just getting people so that they're doing the sport properly. Because there are a lot of charlatans out there that are saying things that are just ridiculous and charging people big bucks, and they're not shooting correctly. And I just feel it's really important, if someone's going to take up a sport, that you have good technique and you can do it so you can become your best.
Are there any age limits as to when you might start? I'm thinking at the upper level, if somebody wanted to take up shooting. What age?
Oh, no, because I mean, for international, for bunker, it's pretty hard. But if they want to just shoot it, that's fine. I've someone took my clinic a couple of years ago, and they're late 70s. The youngest I've ever taught was 8, and that to me is a little early. I think 12 is a great age. Maybe that's because my father started me at 12, but I like 12 as a starting point. Internationally, I didn't start shooting until I was 18. And, that was fine with me.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for giving such a thoughtful discussion, really. And many thanks, many congratulations, and all good wishes for the decades to come.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. I think the key is that people limit themselves psychologically. They think, oh, well, I'm too old. But if they got rid of that and just did it because they wanted to do it, then I think that's key, not to limit yourself.
Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yeah, you nailed it. Thank you so much, Sue. It's been so much fun talking to you. Thanks.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
So that's our show for this week. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another great guest. In the meanwhile, do be sure to subscribe to Wisp Sports on your podcast player. If you want to find the show notes for this episode, they're on the Bolder Woman show page at wispsports.com. While you're on the website, you'll find lots more coverage of women's sports, from podcasts to videos, interviews, blogs. We cover all sports around the world. Do follow us and share your comments on social media at Wisp Sports and at Alex Rotas. We'd love to hear from you if you've any suggestion for guests, or if you'd like to tell us what you think of the show. Do drop us a line to info@wispsports.com. So till next time, a big thank you for listening. We know you've a choice out there with some wonderful podcasts. So thank you for supporting women in sport everywhere.
This is your moment.